Hey everyone, we are so glad you're with us, whether you're here as part of our community or you're watching the replay. Welcome to Writers Chat. If you are watching the replay, I often say this at the end, but today I'm going to say at the beginning, and you'd like to join us, know that we do these recordings almost every Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Who's up that early? 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern is when we do them, and honestly, practically every Tuesday except around holidays. And we'd love to have you join us then. You can also join our Facebook Writers Chat group, or check out our Writers Chat page, which shows all the episodes that we have, or our YouTube channel, which also just has all of our episodes. So this morning, we're going to dive right in and turn the episode over to Bethany Jett, who's going to be talking to us about an annual marketing plan. So she has her master's degree in lots of long words, but basically marketing. She can be more specific if she wants to. It just went right out of my head what it is. And she's an author. She owns Platinum Literary Services and Serious Writer. And we're just very glad to have her with us today. So we're just going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I'm really excited. We've talked about annual marketing plans in past episodes. So I'm hoping that anyone who's either doing one or has done one, please feel free to, in the chat, talk to us about how that's going. So, and then because I want to make sure I kind of cover the nuts and bolts and basics, but then also maybe towards the end show a little bit of some actual how to do it. I was playing around with it last night, and so I've got my Canva up to be able to share that if that's helpful. So I do have a PDF that I'll have available on my website later today or tomorrow that sort of has this checklist in it. So I'm going to go through the checklist with you guys and kind of start at the top and go to the beginning. And so an annual marketing plan is basically taking a book. For us as writers, it's either a book that you already have out or a book that you're working on. Even if the book doesn't have a contract, you can also use this for your brand in general, and then use the parts and elements and themes and topics of your book to kind of implement into different aspects of your annual plan. And because it's January, it's so much fun to talk about plans and goals and calendars, and everything is new and fresh. And it's my favorite planner time of the year. So there are some tools that can help you do this. So if you are a planner and you've got a paper planner, that's great. If you are an online planner with like Google Cal, you can use your Google Calendar to kind of map this out. If you're very tactile, I like to have things printed so I can write on them and then sometimes transfer that over onto a digital system like Google Calendar. I will show these pages real quick. So again, I love the Happy Planner. And one reason is because they have these perpetual calendar pages, if you will, at the very beginning of every planner now. I think it started out as just for teachers, I think, and then it was so popular they kept it. So I'm not going to put my gloves on for this, but they have a page like this, which actually a lot of people make these that you can print out like from Etsy. And so the month is here with all the days going down and the weekends in sort of a bold color. And so then the next set is April through June. So basically it's 4 pages that have a calendar in 4 spots. What I like to do with these is I got to grab my glove for this one. So one second. I'm allergic to paper. If anyone's like, what is she doing? I'm like, okay, this is the National Day calendar. And you can also get this online, but I like to have an actual physical copy of it. And they always go on sale either November, December, and since it's January, you'll probably really get one on sale because this is the 2022 one. But what it has in it is it has every month, and then on the different days, they have the different national holidays that can be observed. So I find it easy to open this up on my desk, grab, these pages here, or be with my calendar and start finding the national holiday observances, like those, National Cupcake Day or National Authors Day, and then figure out, is there a way that I can implement those days into my own calendar as an author, or even talking about my brand or my business or themes or topics in my book. So any comments before we move on, Mom?
Well, this is a little aside, but the national calendar is also fun just to do Facebook posts and to celebrate things with your family that you might not have done otherwise. Because we found out like a couple years ago, it was National Picnic Day. We took the boys on an impromptu picnic. National Pajama Day is sometime, I think, in October or November. And, so it's just fun to sort of do those things family-wise too. But then that also does give you maybe something for your newsletter, something, to put in a blog post that you wouldn't have thought to do otherwise, or just to put something up really quick on Facebook or Instagram. So it may not be something really planned out, but still an impromptu thing that you can do.
Yes, exactly. And there's Sherry Lynn said that she's got the website saved to her favorites. And the National Day Calendar website sometimes can be hard to load. It doesn't always go fast. So usually there's organizations or groups that list out the months as well. And sometimes there's different days. Some sites will have different days that you've not seen before. So you always want to make sure that the actual days, that you're not just making it up because someone stuck one in there. But there's calendar.com is the one I've got up on my site right now. And it kind of just lists them all. So you don't have to click into the months. So I'm going to put that URL in the chat, and it's calendar with 2 R's, like calendar.r.com. And then it's United States observances -2022. And I'll just share my screen real quick because I think I've got access to that.
You should, yeah.
Yeah. So this is just very simple. You can just scroll through here and pull the days off that you want. And then some of them you can click over to do. So a fun one, I think it was last week, was National Popcorn Day. And I wanted to do this whole thing at my house with my kids, and I didn't because I forgot about it because I didn't have it written down where I was looking at it. But I was able to put up, this is a way for you to build engagement with your audience, even on Instagram. So I just had this cute little picture of popcorn, and I said, A or B. A is, I think, movies, B is TV shows. And then the caption was, what do you prefer to binge watch? Happy National Popcorn Day. And it really didn't have anything to do with branding, but it did actually bring in more comments than normal on my Instagram posts. And so I was able to get some engagement going with people that way. So sometimes, even if it's just fun, you can throw it out there just to sort of build that engagement back with your audience. When you're looking at your annual marketing plan, the first thing, checklist step number 1 is, what is your audience's year like? So if you're looking at your year as a whole, who is your target audience when it comes to your book? And if you have multiple books, there may be multiple audiences. And so you may have to have more than one set of calendars going at a time, or some kind of system to where you can sort of start combining them into one plan. That's the goal. But you may have some scrap paper or some notes where you're actually saying, okay, I've got 3 things in January that I'm going to have to do. And then I have all this time where my audience isn't doing anything for whatever reason for the next month. And it's like, how do I work within what they're needing for? So if your audience is moms, which is a lot of people's audience is moms, they're either because they like to read fiction, or they've got kids at home, or if you're writing nonfiction, or if you're writing for children, they're your book buyers. So moms are typically a really good audience to use as an example. But if you think about what a mom's year is like, in January, kids have gone back to school typically, unless they're homeschooling. If you've got a homeschool audience, you've got a whole different year calendar to start working within, and different things that you can do, especially with the national holidays. Since they're home, they can probably implement those very easily into maybe their school day. So offering tips and resources for them that way is going to be helpful. But then you've got spring break coming up. You've got Valentine's Day. If you're targeting moms of littles, like what can they do for Valentine's Day that's fun for kids? And then you've got the summer break that's going to be coming up. And so starting to think, what are they doing right now, but what are they going to be doing next quarter? So thinking in seasons and quarters is another tip that I've got. And then scheduling and getting your material and your content ready, so that way you can be working within the content now, but then also thinking ahead. And then you've got back to school in August and September. So what's going on in the mom's life? What do they need to know? And then Christmas and breaks. So you can think in seasons, semesters, or quarters, whatever it is that your audience is needing the most. So a lot of chat going, and I don't want to just talk the whole time. Mom, any comments?
Well, we love to hear you talk.
Oh.
Yeah, people were talking about, Pam was saying Sunday was National Pie Day, and she made pizza for dinner, which I think is just great. That's my favorite kind of pie. And Catherine said January 17th was Ditch New Year's Resolutions Day, which inspired her to designate a monthly goals review day, which is really
Nice.
great idea. And then Pam was talking about the main character in her picture book series, A Friendly Dragon, and how she could use Willoughby, her friendly dragon, with Instagram to for these holidays, and use him as celebrating them. So that's really a cool idea too. Yeah. So just some great ideas being shared in the chat.
Okay, perfect. And I think I've said a lot of the things on the checklist. The next kind of two things, like the final two things, are talking about creating a funnel system and having at least maybe once a quarter, once a season, taking something within your annual marketing plan and saying, okay, I'm sharing these things on Instagram, or, I'm just telling people about these days coming up, but what can I actually do about that? And how does that translate into book sales? Because it's great to engage, but then how do we actually sell books with this? So that's a place that I want to go. And then another place that I want to go is how to utilize templates to create some of this content, which might be the easiest place to start. And I'm gonna have to just pop off real quick because I think I hear the dog whining and I don't want to be on the recording. So I'll just be right back. She's right here.
While she's doing that, I will share a little anecdote that I am probably Bethany's worst client, because as soon as she said the word funnels, it's like I get the twitches. So just the other night, I was doing a blog post and I wanted to create a printable, downloadable printable sheet. Okay, I don't want to take too long taking care with this anecdote now that you're back. And that's all I wanted. All I wanted was just to do that and to share it so people could easily click it, it'd pop up, they could print it off, and it's a reading challenge, a 2022 reading challenge, which is really cool, and you can find it on my website. But so she immediately starts talking about lead magnets and funnels and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going, and she's like, Mom, this is how you should do it. Because I've never done a funnel. I'm not really set up for the lead magnet. So it's like, all I want to do is this, but to get to where she wants me to be, which is where I should be. I mean, she's right. This is what I should be doing. I've got to do all these other things first, to prep it. And it's like, just tell me how to make it so people can click it and print it off. So we did get it done and it is there. But, what she's saying is just so, this is what we need to be doing. And I promised her that I would get there and that eventually that thing would come off as a freebie and it would be free in exchange for email addresses. But right now you can get it without giving your email address. Back to you, Bethany.
Well, can I use you as an example with the chili?
Of course you can.
Okay. So let's talk about
chili on here.
Every year on Writer's Chat, I talk about the chili recipe. So for those of you who have been with us from the beginning, you know where I'm headed with this. If you write fiction, a common objection that I hear from novelists is a few things, really. I just want to write. I do not want to do marketing. I don't want to do any of this stuff. But novelists have this beautiful duality where you are telling this story, but you also are researching. And so you have all of this amazing research at your fingertips that your readers love because they love to read in that genre of what you're talking about. And so it's how can we repurpose this content that you worked so hard to prep and research and give it away and build an audience that way. People who like to read the genre are probably going to be interested in the topics that you're talking about in your book. So let's go to the chili. This is, I believe, the Misty Willows book 1. Book 3. Yeah. And chili has nothing to do with the story at all. But it is a nonfiction element, what we call a nonfiction element inside of a novel. And last night we were talking about it because Super Bowl is coming up and people are doing chili cook-offs at church. You've got like from November to the beginning of February, people are doing chili. And so this is a great time while people are already searching for chili recipes so that they can win their cook-off, to be talking about literally an award-winning chili recipe, which is what she's got. The person she got the recipe from has won multiple awards with this chili. She's got an award-winning recipe. It's time to have that on Pinterest, having it at the very front of there, putting it back into her newsletter, putting it back into her blog post, talking about this. But then last night she was saying, I said, we need to make this chili so we can talk about your book, because this is something happening in the world. Well, people who watch Super Bowl, you know, and some of those people might be readers of your genre. And then she said, so then I got an objection. It costs $100 to make this chili because of the ingredients that are used. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's even better, because it means that we can do how to create an award-winning chili on a budget. And now we've got the word budget in our line, which every mom is like, budget? I can make this chili on a budget? Oh, I'm all ears. How do I do that? And so I think, okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get the ingredients, and we're going to do this, and we're going to make a video reel about it, and we're going to stick it on your website. So that's something we're going to do. And all the while, the point of the chili is, as we're doing this, giving something valuable to people who like cooking or recipes and budget and things like that. It's also talking about the characters in her book who are making this chili and why. And so it gives her a reason to bring back a book that is book 3. I think this is like 6 books ago or something for her. It's in her backlist. It's not even a book she's promoting right now, but it gives a reason to talk about it. If you are writing a book that has a recipe in it and it's not published yet, it gives you a chance to let your readers into the characters of your book early, like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening in a book that was being shopped right now. It gives you another reason to talk about you as a writer. It puts that back into their minds. It also helps create this sense of trust, because you're giving them something that they might want. And they may not make this chili recipe, but if you think of another food item, I think there's peach pie or something in the first book, Where Treasure Hides, right? So then if we're doing anything with peaches, it gives her another reason to talk about where treasure hides, because there's food, and food always sells. So just be thinking about those nonfiction elements and where can those go on your annual marketing plan. Like when peaches come in season, that should be a thing where we've got, okay, we're going to talk about where treasure hides here. And these are things that you can put into your book proposal as well. If you can say, look, I've got an annual marketing plan for this book. These are going to be the hot seasons for it. These are going to do most of the direct marketing, but we're also going to be soft marketing it these other times throughout the year. It's brilliant. You've kind of done like a lot of the work for them, and then they can come alongside you and say, okay, here's how we can help with that. Okay, I'm just going to talk in bursts. Back to you. I'm just reading the comments real quick.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. Okay, just for those who are not on the chat where we've been talking about this, when I said $100, that was an exaggeration, except we do all know meat prices have gone up. And the chili makes a ton. The guy who created it gave us the recipe, and then my sister, who knows how to cook much better than I do, halved it. And it still made quite a bit, but it is pricey because there's a lot in it, a lot of great sausage and special sausages and things like that. That has nothing to do with writing.
Everyone needs to get this book and find this recipe. It will be available
on a website out there, and I will find it. And I will, if the link is not broken, I will find it and put it in the writers chat Facebook group. Okay, that everyone's talking about the chili, so
okay.
So go on, sweetie.
Any questions? I just want to make sure I'm not going. I don't know.
I don't think I've missed any. Randy, if you see any, make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any yet. Just a lot of nice side talk. Food. Although Catherine did mention that she has troubles making long-term plans. So an annual marketing plan is a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, how do you break it down into smaller size chunks, and something that just the whole idea of making a marketing plan doesn't send you off running for the chili?
Yeah. Okay. So I've got some ideas for you. The 2 words of my life are, it's a word I made up, actually put together, permaflex, which means permanently flexible. So I know I have to do this marketing all year round, but I find it easy to go in stages. So that's why I always start these off with the National Day calendar. And I want to move past the National Day calendar too, because I feel like sometimes I get just talking about that, but it gives you that starting place. So if you can get your calendar and it may take you 30 minutes maybe to go through an entire year's worth of national days and just pick out the ones that you want. But now you have at least something written down from January to December of this year where it's kind of maybe a plan. And then I like to say, all right, now let's look at Q1, wherever I'm at right now. What can I do for the rest of this month? And then how can I look ahead at month 2? As soon as you get into the swing of things, you get caught up that my goal is always, and has been, but has never been reached, is being 3 months out, maybe 6 months out. I've never gotten there, but it is the goal. But if you have, this is perfect transition, Catherine, and I saw another question. So we're going to transition into templates, because that can save you so much time and get your content created faster. So let me come back. I saw Kathy had a question in here. So, but that's where we're headed. Okay. Oh, we have plenty of time too. This is great.
Yeah. Do you see Kathy's question?
Yeah.
Do you have a book out yet and you're trying to go traditional publishing?
Okay. What happens if you would put these things on and the publisher takes them out later? So that I'm going to rephrase the question. If you put these elements into an annual marketing plan in your proposal and you send it to the publisher, what happens if they take them out? I have never had a publisher remove anything out of the marketing plan. Most of the time, they're like so happy that you have a marketing plan.
Oh, I thought she meant.
Is that the question, or is it not?
I thought she meant in the book itself. So yeah, Kathy, what did you mean? If they're not going to take it out of the marketing section, but if you mean they take that element out of your book, that's probably not going to happen either. I mean, like the chili thing was, oh, that's going to be okay. She says, what happens if you've already put them out on your website or social media already? That's not going to be a problem.
No, it's not a problem. And the thing to remember with that is, I have to tell myself this, nobody's thinking about you. And I say you like me, no one's thinking about me. No one's waiting for my newsletter. No one remembers what I posted 2 days ago ever. So anything that you've already posted is fine. Like don't get hung up on, don't not post something because you think a publisher might take it back because they're not paying attention to your social media. Like hardly. So I would not worry about that. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to have dead space for just a second. I just wanted to see. And Kathy, if that didn't answer the question, please let me know too. But I think sometimes we hold ourselves back from doing really great things that can build audience or build our brand, and we don't because we're afraid of something that could happen. And the thing is, like, the publisher wants you to have as big of a platform as possible because they want to sell as many books as possible. So the more that you're doing, the better. And the faster you start doing those things, the better too, because you're going to know if it actually works or if it doesn't work. And so by the time you're actually ready to promote or market your book, you've already got this track record of, I know exactly what's going to go. And now I get to implement it when people can get the book in hand. And that's really a great place to be.
Okay, we have another question. For those of you who are pre-published, how much of your content do you reveal and share about your book? Are you talking about fiction or fiction? Go ahead, Bet.
No, go ahead. I think I interrupted your question.
No, I just was wondering if it was nonfiction or fiction or either that he was talking about, or she was.
Okay. So nonfiction. So the best practice when it comes to how much to share from your book is share everything. Here's the thing. What you don't want to do is take your chapter that you're submitting to the publisher and put that on your website. I would not tell you to do that. But if you're writing nonfiction, take the first 2 chapters or 3 chapters that you have of your proposal that are done, and your proposal itself, actually, going through the overview and things, you have so much content to repurpose from that book proposal and those first chapters. And because in nonfiction, you've got headings and subheadings within that chapter as you're taking the reader from the promise of the book, and now I'm breaking that promise into 15 hows or 15 ways or 15 topics underneath that promise. So every chapter is a promise in and of itself. And so you've got all that information in there. Start pulling that information out of your book and start posting it as statuses, as questions, as polls, as did you knows, or things like that, and get the content out there, because now you're going to be watching in real time how your audience is reacting to the content in your book, And you still have a chance to change that content until it goes to that last editor, until it goes through line editing. You're still time to make some changes. And so the thing is, and I'll use Gary Vaynerchuk as an example of this, because his philosophy is literally to give all of his content away for free. And he does it via newsletter, blogs, podcasts, YouTube. I mean, every platform he's on sharing information. And he has 5 New York Times bestselling books, maybe 6 now, maybe. And it's all the same information. And he'll say that from the stage when he's promoting his books, is that all this information is already out there for you. Here it is in one place. And a book reads different than social media or a newsletter or hearing an interview. That's why you can repurpose everything, because you're going to write it differently in the book than you're going to say it or as you're going to use it as statuses. So if you're holding on to that content until the book releases, you don't have an audience for it because they don't know this information exists. And then the other aspect, which is kind of a Bethany aspect, is I really believe that marketing is about the message. But when we're so focused on someone's going to take it, someone's going to steal it, or maybe I shouldn't have it out there, then we're only focusing on the me part of message and we've lost the whole thing. So because the word me is in the word message. So we got to take me but focus on the message part of it. And the message is the information in your book. So just repurpose it differently. So I say share it. And if you're doing research for a novel, share it. You don't have to give the plot away, but you can be talking about the research that you're doing and things like that. So again, it just goes into building that audience of people who care about what you care about.
All right. So moving on to another topic or another aspect of the annual marketing plan.
Sherry Lynn says she's doing reels about
Yes.
Bible characters in a devotion that she's got coming out, which is great because then you're going to get all the people who love these Bible characters and like, oh, there's a book, I have to have the book. And that's perfect. And Sophia says she's been sharing trivia about octopuses. Yes. Is it octopi, octopuses? I don't know. You would know when you put octopuses.
It's both now.
Oh,
Is it?
Yes. Both are acceptable now, according to the dictionary.
That is fun. Okay, fun. Okay, let's think. We can talk about, let me just go through this checklist real quick. Okay, so templates. Let's go into templates, and then because then the funnel is the other thing. And then one of my tips is give yourself lead time. So get out what you need to get out that's happening now so you don't miss it, but give yourself lead time. And what I mean by that is if you've got, okay, well, I'll use an example. Let me see. So I have my very first book came out in 2013. So I still need to be marketing that book. And I don't do it very often, but it's a book on dating. And every year I miss the Valentine's Day window because I'm just either not thinking about it or I haven't prepared. And so this year I decided we're going to go full dating for teenage girls from now until February. So as I was going through the National Date Calendar, so these, I'm just going to walk through the steps of like how I'm actually doing it. I went through there and I found on February 5th, but I don't know if this is a legitimate national day, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's Dump Your Significant Jerk Day. So February 5th, Dump Your Significant Jerk Day. And I thought, aha, I have a whole chapter in my book on deal breakers and red flags when you're dating. So that's perfect. So I've got 5 deal breakers in a relationship that I think that every girl should have as their 5 deal breakers. And so I told my mom last night from February 1 to February 5, I'm going to go focus on each of those deal breakers, which I can create in Canva. And I'm going to open Canva in a minute. But then that leads to a funnel because those 5 deal breakers, if I'm using them on social media, on Instagram, which is the plan, I need to take those same 5 things and just repurpose them into maybe a 5-day email funnel or just one PDF that's just a one-time printouts. And maybe it becomes a download for people to add their own deal breakers on. And so here's mine. What are yours? Kind of like a worksheet. I don't know if that's going to work, but I need to do it to test it because if it doesn't work, then I need to figure out why. So I can start tweaking my marketing plan with all of these different things as I'm trying to promote specific books. So you ready for me to kind of jump into Canva, Mom? Muted.
I think it's really important what you just said. I don't want it just to kind of fly by to test it because I think this is where Like I get hung up, and I'm sure
Okay.
people do. It's like she's going to do this, and notice if it doesn't work, I've got to figure out why. And I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, what if it doesn't work? I'm not even going to do it. So, it's like, don't be afraid to, I think we need to get over that fear. Okay, it may not work, and that is okay. Then you learn from that, and don't let it stop you from trying something else, or even trying that again. And actually someone did ask, if you use that content for 2022, would you use it again in 2023? And that may depend on how it goes over, and you might tweak it or not. Or so you want to make any little comments on that, and then move on to the Canva and funnels and stuff.
It's a great question, because when you're looking at your 2023 calendar, if we say, okay, in 2022, I'm going to do my first draft of this and see how it goes, you can't change anything you don't implement, which makes me think of, Mom, your advice to writers and to me when I'm stuck is that you can't edit a sentence that's not written yet. I hear you say that all the time. Can't edit a sentence that's not written, so just write it. And so it's kind of that same philosophy. You can't make changes to a marketing plan that you haven't tried. And so take the pressure off of yourself. Like when I know I've talked about grace campaigns in here before, and it's just the steps of making a little marketing campaign. But the 5 days of deal breakers, that's a little mini marketing campaign. And so I'm going to say from February 1 to February 5, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get it scheduled out, and then I'm going to watch it. I'm going to engage because it's already scheduled, right? So we've already done the planning part of it. So during the 5 days, I just get to be there to engage, which is so freeing. But the really freeing part of it is the E in the word grace of the GRACE acronym, which is evaluate. I don't have to worry about how it's doing until February 6th. And then I can go back and look which post had the most comments, which post had the, like looking at my insights in Instagram, which post had the most saves, which one had the most interaction, why, and whichever one did the best, that's the one I maybe need to talk about again in a few days, or keep discovering. And then in 2023, I might say last year, this was the number one deal breaker for everybody. And then I can join a different conversation again, but I've still got content that I can repurpose and share again for those 5 days, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really good.
I see some, I have to move up in the chat real quick.
Yeah, there's lots of comments about Canva Fear and
Canva.
Are you using Canva templates for planning or creating content? Jill asked.
I'm going to show you.
Okay, and yeah, the word funnel is a little scary for not just me. Yeah, and the dating book, Valentine's Day, homecoming, proms, Alice,
Yes,
places for that. And that's just an example of what you need to think about your book, a nonfiction book, and what it is, and what events can tie into it. So yeah,
go ahead.
Make sure you have plenty of time. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and do the Canva stuff, that's great.
And then when a funnel is scary sounding, if you think it's just taking from one step to the next step to the next step to the next step, all it is it's just moving down the conveyor belt. So I will share my screen.
Okay.
I'm inside of Canva, and I do use Canva for work, or Canva Pro, or whatever, the paid version of it. So I like the folders. I like to be able to have subfolders and of pictures and all kinds of things. So this, I thought I would just, Mom, you had asked to show some of the how-to things inside of Canva.
Yeah.
So I call them threads in my head when it comes to Canva. So these are my IG thoughts. So some of these are just templates that I need to change out some things. So I just keep them in. This is a post I just did yesterday. This is one that's going to be coming. So I kind of keep them kind of all together. And here's another draft of that earlier one, because I like the way the background looks. This is the one that I'm using for all of my Cinderella rule things that are going chapter by chapter. And so today I'll switch out the text and put another quote from the book and stick it out there. So sometimes if I'm just going to be working on one book, I won't have all of those other IG thoughts in here. It'll just be the Cinderella rule 2022. And then everything that I'm going to do for the year goes into that design element, because you can add pages basically. And so if I was doing that, I would just, I would get my background the way I wanted it, and I would just duplicate the page And then I would just sit here and just type in all the different things instead of changing it, downloading, changing it, downloading. I would just keep creating multiple pages and then just changing it on there. So I'd have like 12 of these basically, or 15, because I've got 15 chapters. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
How did you find that background? Is that one from Canva, or is that one, because people may not know you can get these backgrounds from Etsy, which are wonderful.
This one is, yeah.
Them and just change the text and change the pictures, and you've got something new, and yet it's all cohesive.
This one is from Canva.
Okay.
Because I needed hearts. And so I just went into photos, searched hearts, and then pulled the graphic over. I have a video about how to get templates from Etsy. This is also a template from within here. So it's basically this one right here. So this is what it started out as. I know it's kind of small, but it's got like a sun. This is a carousel, like for Instagram, which means it's multiple graphics that you're telling a story throughout. And Instagram likes carousels. So I just took all of these, I changed the colors of them, and then added Faith, because Faith wasn't in there. And then I just added my own text last night. And so this will be something that I probably post today. So it was maybe 10 minutes last night going into Canva and doing that. And then for the calendar, if you're wanting to create a calendar, if you go to templates, I searched monthly calendar, and then all these templates were right here. So I just pulled them over and started changing the backgrounds, and then added a place for notes here, something that could be downloaded. So if you're like, my planner doesn't really work for me for what I need to do, and I want to see things on paper, that's the way to do it. So
now, Bethany, I noticed the little pro symbol on those. So I assume that you have the paid version.
I have the paid version. Some of these are free. This one's free. This one's free. This one's pro. Yeah, and some of the pictures are pro too. So I do use the pro. This is one thing I stopped paying for it like 3 or 4 years ago. And after about a month, I couldn't handle it anymore. So I went back to paid on Canva. So I like to save money anywhere possible. So I don't pay for a scheduler anymore. I either schedule it through the app itself, or like for Facebook or Instagram, I'm using Creator Studio because it's free. But Canva Pro is the one that I definitely, it's part of my writing budget each year. It's just so powerful, like with the folders and things.
It's become part of my writing budget too. And you guys know
Has it?
I'm not like really great on this stuff, but when I started using the pro Canva, it's helped with graphics. And I bought one set or a couple sets from Etsy with Bethany's help that are author writer related. And I've been able to do images and change quotes out to put on a couple other things that I'm involved in. The Mid-South Christian Writers Conference Facebook group, I put up a graphic every Friday with a writing quote on it, and it just has made my life so much easier because it's done. It's just like I've got 4 or 5 of them, and I just interchange them, and I just change the quotes on them and put them up. So it really is a good thing to do. Someone asked, what are carousels for Instagram?
A carousel is when you're posting more than one picture. So it's where you can swipe on someone's post. Usually there's like 3 dots on there. And so it's like you can tell a story through multiple pictures on here. So I'll pull one up as a like a model. And then you mentioned Etsy templates. So I think I've got some of them saved in here, so I don't know if we need to show those or not, but let me find that Instagram carousel real quick. I'm going to mute in case sound comes on.
Okay. Kathy talks about if you're planning on selling a calendar, there are restrictions on how you use the Canva templates, but it's just for your social media. It's okay. Yeah, if you're going to sell something, you do have to be really careful about, where you started from if you didn't create it yourself. And Dennis talked about, and I'm with you on this, being uncomfortable in the technology. And, sometimes if you can just find somebody, like I'll have one of the girls, Bethany or Jill, I just say, just sit beside me. You don't have to do it. Just sit beside me. And if you're right here with me, it makes it so much easier for me to do it on my own. I don't know why, but it does. But because they're right here, and I can say, okay, what am I doing wrong? How do I do this? Do you know a shortcut to do this? So if you can find somebody that can just sit beside you, but we have had episodes on some of these things before. They would be on YouTube, and YouTube does have a lot of resources. And we appreciate your telling us what you want, because we're going to be meeting in a couple weeks and coming up with more episode ideas. So if there are things that you want us to have an episode on, we want to know that so that we can try to make that happen. And Sherilyn said we all need a Bethany and or Jill. Yes, I'm very blessed.
I saw a question come in. Amber had mentioned the amount of text on a photo might limit you from being able to boost it or do an ad. That I don't know the official rules on this. At one point, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I couldn't get some of my posts to be ads because there was so much text. And now 95% of my ads are just pretty much all text, and they go through just fine. So I don't know if they dropped that restriction or what. And so I have no problems getting ads out with mostly text on them now, which is great. But I would say I don't recommend boosting your Facebook post or your Instagram. I would make it an ad. If you're boosting, you're pretty much just kind of throwing money down that Facebook drain. It's two different things. Now, if boosting is working for you really well and you're getting like a really good return, like then you might know more about boosting than I do, but it's just boosting it to people who are already following you. Whereas an ad is intended to go beyond that group and pull in new people. It kind of depends on what strategy you're doing, but I recommend ads instead of boosts.
Okay, I thought I saw another question, and now I can't find it.
Isabel asked about the free scheduler.
Okay.
So I was using a scheduler for Twitter before Twitter changed the rules about the same content being repeated over and over. So once upon a time, you could take a quote from your book, and some of the schedulers would have that quote go back out. Like you could set it for every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. So you would put things in one time, and then that same tweet could go out multiple times, which was wonderful. But they don't do that anymore. They're not allowed to do that anymore. And so now you have to take that same quote and you have to change it just enough to be able to get through the algorithm. And when that was happening was around the same time that Facebook came out with Creator Studio, which is really business.facebook.com. And it's their own way to schedule things to Facebook and Instagram. And we started having trouble with our third-party schedulers at that time, posting into groups, which is really where having a scheduler matters, because you're sometimes it is like it's a motivation Monday every Monday. Like we need that to go out every Monday. So some people still use some plans to be able to do that same kind of content into Facebook each week. But we just use Facebook, business.facebook.com, and go in, and you can actually schedule to Instagram and Facebook that way. And then you can also change the text for each one. So there's a box where you can do text for both, and that same text is going to go to both. But if you have something different on Instagram that you want to say, like hashtags, for example, you can just click the little Instagram icon. It keeps the picture, everything there, but you can add hashtags into the Instagram caption only, and it won't add them to the Facebook side. So it gives you two really choices on how you're going to use your text, and you can schedule it that way. And it's free for now. I don't know. We always thought they might start charging for it, but when they started restricting the reach for third-party schedulers anyway, it seemed like a good time to go ahead and move over to their system. So I don't pay for a scheduler anymore. So that was one expense and because you can't do the tweeting that we used to do 5 years ago or even 4 years ago, I don't even schedule to Twitter anymore. It doesn't, at least that's for me, it doesn't make sense. So I don't pay for a scheduler for that.
Okay, we had a question. Do you post the same content on IG Reels stories post the same day?
I think I need more information for that. I don't think
I guess if you had something, would you do it to all three of those on the same day, or would you spread them out maybe to different days?
So my Instagram is connected to my Facebook page. And so when I put it on Instagram, it automatically goes to Facebook. So it's one, if I'm on my phone, let's say that. So I have them go out at the same exact time. I don't often post on Twitter though. What I should be doing as part of my funnel is once I post on Instagram, taking that Instagram post and putting it on Pinterest with the link back to my Instagram. So that's part of the funnel that I need to get better at, but that would be pulling in another platform just by pretty much all the material, include like the caption, the photo, just putting that over into Pinterest and utilizing Pinterest that way to send people back to Instagram. That's a strategy that it would be like a next step. But if you're doing a reel on Instagram, if you're not filming it through the Instagram app itself, then you can post that on TikTok. So it's how can we get one piece of content and put it multiple places? And I do it on the same day.
So we did have a question asking for advice on major course corrections. And she says, for example, if your original 2020 plan had been based on in-person conference speaking engagements, how would you have been on the front line? Or how would you have been on the front line for reinventing that plan in the midst of mass shutdowns?
If you were a speaker or attendee?
Not specified. Well, she goes on to say, I know someone who had a lifelong dream of leading a workshop at one particular annual conference, finally got in for March 2020, just in time for everything to be canceled. And especially now that it seems the conference won't be revived in the foreseeable future, her dream doesn't really happen. So how would you shift your schedule if you had, a whole bunch of things scheduled out and, you get a new COVID variant and boom, everything's shutting back down again. What is your recommendation for trying to shift that marketing plan? How do you go from one thing to another? Ideas on that?
I think it enhances your marketing plan because now you have content to put there. So where you may have felt beholden to the conference to not share that PowerPoint or that presentation outside of the conference because it was going to people who paid to be there, there's a little bit of, am I allowed to say this? Now you have slides, you have all that content that you were going to teach. And I say, take that content, pull it out and start putting it, make carousels out of some of those points, like for your Instagram, get on and start teaching that PowerPoint either in a long video that you put on YouTube and then maybe start breaking it down into like 30 seconds to a minute tips that you're sharing over on TikTok and on Instagram. So take that content and you're just going to repurpose it. And I will tell you that there is a reason why you should start teaching the things that you want to teach. Like if you want to speak at a conference and you're holding on to the material, then they don't know that you have the ability to teach this material either. And so one way that I kind of was asked to teach a new class at a conference when I was just getting started and didn't have a lot of experience teaching at conferences, but I was on, if anyone remembers Periscope, Twitter's live stream version before Facebook Live became a thing. So Facebook Live came after Twitter's Periscope live streaming, which came after a different live streaming app. And I was doing that. And because of that, I got asked to come in and teach a class on live streaming because it was something that I was already doing. And so that ushered in this whole new wave of opportunities into the writer conference world because nobody else was teaching on it at the time. And so it's important to be doing those things. And if you've got a workshop that's already ready, this is something I was literally doing last night, was going through my keynotes and saying, what content do I already have in a presentation that I could be pulling out and putting on Instagram? It's just sitting in my computer dying. It's dying on the vine. Like, is it worth teaching and helping? And so if you've got any kind of PowerPoint presentation that you've done for a church, or maybe you've given a talk or led a Bible study, you have all those notes, pull them out and start sharing them with your audience too. We got to start repurposing a lot of the content that we have or notes that we have in notebooks from events that we've been to that are just sitting there that you can't throw away. My mom and I always talk about this, the pages of notes we have, but we never go look at them again, but we don't want to toss them either. So how can we repurpose that into social media content that then can be shared out? So I hope that was a helpful answer for that.
Okay, a new question. Is it best to use reels or stories to do your teaching and sharing your content? Which one gets new followers? Seems like people just scroll through reels and don't follow their question. That's a question.
Both. You need both. Stories and reels they work differently. So the stories are going to die in 24 hours unless you put them into a highlight. So there's this whole strategy for how to use your stories to get information into your highlights, which are those circles under here. Let me just share my screen and show. Can I do that?
Of course.
I think everybody should be following this guy, Brock. So if you follow my story, sometimes you'll see that I've shared his reels into my story. So if you're kind of new to Instagram and you're like, I have no idea what you're saying. So this is a look at a profile. in this headshot area is where the stories live, quote unquote. And it's where you would click to be able to see content that's going to disappear in 24 hours. This pink ring around his headshot indicates that there is content in his story that I haven't seen because I'm logged in as myself. So what happens as you're on Instagram, like if you've got your phone out and you're going to look for this guy on your phone, every time that you upload a story into your Instagram, there's tiny little headshot circles on one of your menus. And if I did a story 23 hours ago, when my mom opens her Instagram, she's probably not going to see me at that top. But if I do a story every 6 hours, your story jumps you to the front of that line until somebody else that you're following does another story. So by doing multiple stories throughout your day, Instagram is constantly moving you to the front of the line until someone else that you're following does a story. Is that making sense? Because I don't have the phone where you guys can see it, and it doesn't show it on here the way it might show it if I look around.
I think that makes some sense. Yep.
Okay. So stories are going to be great for that because you can get people to kind of follow you like on a day's journey. It's a great place for behind the scenes. And there's like a stickers icon, the little smiley face icon in your story where you can do countdowns. Like I was telling my mom last night, like she's doing this book reading challenge. She should have a countdown until the next one starts. So counting down to the February book challenge, because people can save those countdowns and follow along with you. We probably need to do a whole one of these on how to use Instagram stories, to be quite honest, because there's just so many ways to do it. But this here is highlights. And so highlights are information that you've put into your story, although I think there's a workaround for that, but I'm not really sure how to do it. And basically he's saying, here's reels, here's where you can find out more about his coaching. I don't know what his dancing is, but he does do a lot of dancing on here. So if you are a novelist, like for my mom, I would say she should have one for Where Treasure Hides, or for historical, for her cozy mysteries. She should have another one of these where it's all information about the cozy mystery books that she has. Then she needs another one for the contemporary romance ones where she's showing that. So people can come here and get a lot of information about you just from this. What I wanted to show you though was a carousel. So this is a carousel. And the reason I knew that was because of this. Do you see the two picture icons, the two squares that are kind of doubled up right here in the corner? It means there's multiple pictures. And so basically he's got it numbered, and this is one you have to scroll through. I didn't look at this before I stuck it on here live, but so this is a way to teach. This is a way to share information as a carousel, and Instagram likes the carousels. This guy, Brock, his whole thing in here is how to teach Instagram growth, especially using reels. So he talks about his strategy. He talks about what to do. He talks about the fact that hashtags are important, but not as important as they used to be. And so what do you do with that? So lots of.
And he uses his face a lot. Look at all of this.
Yeah, he does. Hashtags are out, SEO is in. So this is a really good account to follow to get tips and ideas. And he does posts, carousels, stories, and reels. But he grew his account. He'll show you sometimes through the numbers. Anyway, follow Brock Levin Johnson. He's a great guy to follow. All right, I saw questions. Or comments anyway, I don't know the question.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up on those too. I think just a lot of encouragement. We do want to encourage you that if this is all just like, oh, craziness, we're here to help. It's like as much as we can. And it has been a while since we've done an Instagram class, and things do change. And so, it may be time for us to do one again. So we appreciate those of you who are suggesting that, and any other suggestions that you have. Bet it's like 3 minutes till. So any final words? And I know you need to get going for your next meeting.
Yeah. This is I'll have this worksheet available soon, probably the next 24 hours. I'm hoping for anyone who likes to have checklists. And then I just had some tools. It's just a very easy checklist. And then I think we didn't really talk about the funnel after that, but I think the most important thing for today was to plan out, start with the National Day calendar, plan out your week, thinking about the books or projects that you're working on or brand kind of things, and then focus in on the quarters and topics and themes and elements in your book. So.
Right. We'll let you go. That's a great place to start, is just start where you can with what you can. And if you're just starting out, focus on one at a time. I mean, it's very confusing to try to do it all. Master one, grow on it, and then add something else. And it can be really easy, like once you do an Instagram thing, to stick it on Pinterest, but still you could keep your focus on Instagram and just add it to Pinterest, but not really need to spend a lot of time there. So Beth, thank you so much. We're glad you're here. While we're still in the recording, we want to talk about next week, which I believe is all about writers' conferences, because we're getting into writers' conference season. And so we're going to talk about choosing writers' conferences. Some writers' conferences may be in person in 2022. Some, I know the Mid-South Christian Writers' Conference will still be a virtual conference this year. So, with virtual conferences, you save travel expenses, and you usually get access to more of the workshops because they're all recorded and you can go back and watch them later, and they can be less expensive. So you might want to look for those. But there also are, of course, benefits to going to an in-person conference, and we'll be talking about that and about writers' conference etiquette and just some different things. So we invite you to join us back for that next week. And until then, happy writing, and we'll see you in a week. Stay around for the after party. Bye-bye, everybody.